Welcome to the Zaleski Sports Show. Boys high school basketball seeds were announced yesterday. We spoke to many area coaches including Marshfield, Stratford, Auburndale, Edgar, Spencer, Columbus Catholic, and a special Wisconsin Rapids area preview with Steve Maves. All that is on today's show, and we begin with Marshfield Tigers head coach Scott Scheuer. With Marshfield Tiger boys basketball coach Scott Scheuer. Coach, you just got out of the seed meeting. Tell us what you learned.
Well, I learned that we have some really good teams on the top, starting with Kimberly and Nina, with no surprise, Chippewa being the 3, Eau Claire North the 4, Hudson 5, Everest 6. We got the 7th seed, Oshkosh West 8, Oshkosh North 9, Spash is 10, 11 is Rapids, Appleton North is 12, Eau Claire Memorial is 13, Appleton East is 14, and Superior 15, and then depending on who wins between Appleton West and Wausau West, that game will be played at Appleton West. That will determine who plays Kimberly. So we are the 7th seed. We actually were voted the 8th. Oshkosh North appealed us for the 8th seed. We were able to sustain and maintain the 8th by a vote of 10-5. Then we appealed Oshkosh West for the 7. We won the appeal 9-6, and we are the 7th seed.
So, Coach, coming into it with the 2 losses to DC Everest, certainly you wouldn't have had an argument to be above them. Do you believe the 7 seed accurately portrays your season to this point?
Well, yes, and there was some in the seeding meeting. Head-to-head doesn't carry any more weight than strength of schedule, common opponents, but everybody looks at it as kind of the trump card. We were the 5 seed in Division II a few years ago, with Merrill as the 2 seed, and we beat Merrill twice. So there's other variables, and I wish in the seeding meeting they would tell you, 10 points for head-to-head, 8 points for strength of schedule, 6 points, but that doesn't happen. So there is some discussion, some basically negotiating from team to team to try and figure out, where it shakes down, and then really convincing other teams that, this is what you deserve. So I think, like you said, with Everest a 6, we didn't appeal just because they did beat us twice. I mean, we weren't at full strength either time, and I'm not going to mention that because sometimes coaches believe you, sometimes they don't, and it's just, I think they deserve to be the 6. I think we deserve to be the 7. So, and I think when everybody walked out, there wasn't any hard feelings. I mean, there was certainly some coaches that, you go in and you battle for your guys and say your piece, and, wherever it shakes down, you walk out and go, okay, let's go play.
Coach, you got a non-conference game Monday at home, and then you finish up conference season on the road Thursday at Spash. What importance does this week have compared to when playoffs start next week?
Well, the main thing with us is just getting healthy. I got a player right now, Wyatt Lemoyne, is at the dock getting checked out. He didn't play a second last night. We lost by 3 to Memorial. Is he 3 points? I don't know that, but maybe he buys a couple guys a few minutes. And our roster, we don't have a lot of depth. The main thing that I'm hoping this week is to have all of our guys back healthy. And then tomorrow, obviously, we play, and then we play Spash on Thursday, and we play Spash the next Friday.
Stratford Tiger boys, the head basketball coach, Kurt Schmidt. Coach, the Stratford Tigers are the number 1 seed in this year's Division IV section. What does that say about the work that you and the boys put in so far here this season?
Well, it says a lot. It shows a consistent body of work throughout the year, and it also shows that you can overcome deficiencies at times, meaning stuff that you don't always plan for. Kids getting sick or injured or, slumps. Kids go through slumps. They go through other things, personal lives. And it's a 4-month season of really trying to stay consistent, be committed to something. They got schoolwork, they've got girlfriends, they've got lots of things. And for us to, the second year in a row, be undefeated going into it, says a lot about our players and their families and just the amount of work they put in their whole basketball careers, starting when they're young and all the way up. So I couldn't be prouder of our program and all the things that they've accomplished this year. The difficult thing I just want to say too is now we're entering that single elimination tournament, and anything can happen. And what you got to be careful of is everybody wants to play in the state tournament. Everybody does. But you got to have things go your way. You're not always best team goes. Sometimes it's middle of the road team, and it's just right now it's sit back, reflect, do our best, be prepared, and give it all you got. Don't worry. Don't get all nervous and scared. Just play, and life goes on. So I'm proud of the kids, proud of what we've accomplished. And now we have, the tournament to look forward to.
Coach, some of what you said rings true, especially considering last year with the season finale loss, as it turned out in a sectional semifinal against Wisconsin Dells. A lot of those same guys are back, and last year that was a Division III sectional semifinal. Now you're a Division IV team. What difference does that make this year?
Well, the first thing that always comes to my mind is size, athleticism, strength. That's one of the big things we noticed playing at the Division III level is, even if you ran into a team that didn't have a lot of skill, they created problems with their length and their size, their speed, their strength, all that stuff. But, nothing's a guarantee. Nothing is. This sectional of Division IV has some very skilled players. They have good teams, teams that are disciplined. And one thing I noticed with that D3 sectional, there was a lot more of the wide open basketball stuff. Like driving lane lines and kicking and just a little less post play and more just wide open kind of shoot threes. Here, we're going to face teams that will hold the ball for long periods of time. And so you gotta make adjustments for that.
Monday night, you host Edgar. It turns out that's also a sectional opponent, perhaps. They're in your section. What are you trying to accomplish in that game, knowing that maybe if things fall a certain way, you may even meet Edgar in the postseason?
Well, you run your base stuff. You just play hard. I know we're trying to prevent a letdown because obviously we've won the conference outright. But we never want to approach a game as, well, we don't really care about this game. That's not our approach. We want to execute. We want to, are you going to reveal stuff that you would use in the playoffs? No, we wouldn't want to do that. But at the same time, you're trying to hone in on your base stuff that you do, your default stuff, however you want to call it. And you just want to get to that point where your timing's really good with your base stuff. You just want to be sound defensively. You want to be fundamental on offense, share the ball, move the ball inside out, just stuff like that. You just want to and then you want to be able to make sure your personnel is, just kind of humming a little bit, I guess. But play hard still. Don't let up. Give it all you got. And that's kind of our approach.
With Auburndale Apache head coach Chad Weinfurter. Coach, the Auburndale Apaches are the 2 seed. Certainly, Edgar was right there with you on that 2-3 seed line. Tell us about how that conversation went down during your meeting.
Yeah, we're very even teams, and that's what I said
at the seating meeting, and Coach Huss kind of echoed it. We both thought we had maybe a small advantage one way or the other with us beating Rib Lake at Rib Lake, and them losing at Rib Lake at home. But I didn't know with the loss to Wittenberg how that would affect things, and of course, we lost to Stratford, so it looks like we're losing some games here at the end of the year here again, and it goes on. But it was a very close vote, and Coach Huss did appeal it, and I would have totally understood the viewpoint from the other coaches if we would have got the 3 as well.
Coach, what is that 2 seed? Earning that 2 seed, what does that say about the work your boys have put in all winter long?
Yeah, I think that's a nice little reward for our kids. Just a little feather in their cap. Once you get it, of course, you got to go out and prove that you're that seed again. But I just think it's a validation of a really good season for us, and in a very competitive conference. We played a pretty good non-conference schedule as well, and it's just a nice thing for our kids to be that 2 seed and have the opportunity to host possibly a couple of games.
Coach, you've had a front row seat against Stratford twice this year. They are the 1 seed in your section. Being the 2 or 3 put you on the opposite side of the bracket in a one-and-done format that maybe prolongs your season. Not to say you can't beat Stratford, but how do you look at that, being on the other side of that bracket from the 1 seed?
It's kind of been like that the last few years, with Marathon with us. And we've been in that situation before with different teams. But, Stratford is a very talented team. I think maybe their best team in their history with that senior class that they have and how well they play together. The nice thing about it is if you do get on the other side of the bracket and both of you can make it that far, that it's a neutral court at least. You're not playing at Stratford, I guess, is the only little advantage to that.
It took a couple of overtimes to beat Edgar at home. You did lose the road game at Edgar. If things go a certain way, it could be a regional final at your place against Edgar. How do you look at that kind of matchup if that were to happen?
I honestly think it's a toss-up between the two teams. I think we're so evenly matched that it's probably one of those situations again that maybe it's something who gets to the free throw line more. Maybe it's who can force a few more turnovers or knock down a few more shots. I think we're as close with them as any team we've been with the past couple of years, as even as it could be, I guess.
All top 4 teams in your section get a bye. What does that mean, and what kind of advantage preparation-wise does that give you, knowing you get to see who your competitor is a couple days before you take the floor?
A few of us were talking about that after the meeting. Sometimes it's maybe not an advantage if you have too much time off. Like our last game is Thursday against Newman, well, then we have a whole week off. But you can get a lot of prep time in. You can prepare for more than one team, which is nice because you don't know who you're going to play until after Tuesday night. And you can work on some things that you need to work on as a team. But it is nice to get that first playoff game sometimes on a Tuesday night and get a game in and get those jitters out and things like that. Whereas the team that has the bye on Friday, they're first experiencing those playoff jitters. No matter how much experience you have, that's always still something you worry about as a coach. So there is definitely an advantage to that. You get a home game, you get to go watch that game, do a little more scouting and things like that. But I think there is maybe a tiny advantage to playing on Tuesday night as well.
With Edgar Wildcat boys basketball coach Dave Huss, coach, a big seed meeting today. I had wrote about this last week, but if there was one seed meeting I could have went to out of all 20 of them in the state, it would have been yours. Just because of how tightly grouped you and the rest of the 12 teams in your section were, and no doubt that seemed to be the case. You and I talked on Friday night. You were going to shoot for the 2. You landed, or the other coaches landed you on the 3 seed. Tell us about your seed selection process and the 3 seed today.
Well, I thought, sometimes you go into a meeting thinking it's going to be a little bit more heated or more fireworks than what it is. I mean, all of us coaches, we all know each other. We play against each other a lot. There's a lot of mutual respect amongst all the coaches. So it's never quite as interesting or heated as what we sometimes think it might be. But, I thought we'd be the 2 or the 3 seed. And, I thought it would be close between us and Auburndale for that 2 spot, which it was. I can't complain. it is what it is. We thought we were certainly deserving of that 2-3 seed, and that's where we ended up. So we're just, looking forward to getting the tournament started here next week and playing whoever wins between Abbotsford and Spencer.
The way the brackets are lined up, obviously the 1 seed and the 2 seed, the 3 and the 4 all get the bye. The 1 and the 2, should you get to a regional final, would host, which would mean if you get to that point, you're back at Auburndale where you played multiple overtimes earlier in the year. You mentioned, though, first things first, but what in trying to shoot for that 2, obviously there was a home court advantage in there as well. How comfortable are you and your team on the road, considering you just played 4 straight in the road, and your 5th one on Monday?
Yeah, that is kind of the perk of the 2 seed. The 1 or the 2 seed is you, provided you can make it to that regional final game, you do get to host on your home court, which is always it's an advantage. But we feel comfortable going on the road. We actually went on the road to Auburndale early February, and we beat them. So kind of a little bit different. They beat us on our home court, and we're able to get a win on their home court. So it's, I think we're 2 pretty evenly matched teams, provided we can both take care of business, which is not going to be easy because Spencer's playing really good. We know that we're going to have a work cut out for us, provided again that they win. I mean, once you get to March, you never know what's going to happen. That is for certain.
You and your guys have won 9 straight. We do have a game on Monday. You're at Stratford on Monday night. When a team is hot like that, and then you move into a one-and-done format, what kind of adjustments do you as a coach have to make to help your team stay hot in that format?
I think the key, now one and done, and especially in basketball, anything can happen on any night. That is for certain. But I think it's just to stay aggressive, stay calm, continue to do what you've been doing. Look at the reasons as to why you are winning games, and let's try to continue to do those things. But it's just focusing one game at a time, staying positive, staying loose, staying aggressive, all the things that I feel we continue to kind of stress into the guys, and just kind of play your game and don't try to be somebody that you're not, because it can be kind of sometimes easy to try something new, or you want to scheme this up or whatever for this opponent because it's tournament, and that can sometimes backfire on you. So just staying true to who you are, and like I said, just re-emphasizing with the guys to stay aggressive, do what you've been doing, and have fun.
To recap one more time, Stratford is the 1 seed, Auburndale is the 2, Edgar, and we're talking to Edgar Wildcat head coach Dave Huss, is the 3, and Neilsville's the 4, all senior heavy teams. What does senior leadership mean come playoff time?
Oh, it means a lot. It means a lot. You have guys that are very mature, both physically and then also kind of emotionally. And in tournament time, when the crowds get a little bit bigger and the atmosphere can get a little bit more tense and possessions become a little bit more important, having seniors that have been there before, who kind of can remain calm and understand, hey, we've been here before, just kind of keeping everything level and even as far as your mentality is important. And you want to kind of rely on those guys as much as you can for guidance on the court, because coach can't do it all. The 5 guys on the court, they need to be able to kind of handle things. Because basketball is certainly a fast-paced game. A lot of decisions made in short periods of time. But so having that senior leadership is really important.
Visiting with Columbus Catholic Don head coach Joe Konechny. Coach, you and your Dons are the number 7 seed in your section. Tell us about your seed selection process and how you got to be the 7 seed.
Well, I think it went about as expected. We finished 1 seed behind Port Edwards, who had beaten us by 2. And obviously head-to-head is a big indicator for what seed you're going to get. So we thought we'd be right behind Port. And then we're just ahead of Loyal, who's the 8th seed. And we had split with Loyal during the season and finished ahead of them in conference. So we kind of figured to be right between those 2 teams and about a 7 seed. So we think we're in a tough bracket, but at the same time, we think we're a team that could win a game or 2 and make a run.
How do you grade the overall strength of your bottom half with Wild Rose and some of the other teams that are in that bottom half with you? How do you grade that overall grouping?
Well, I think it's a tough grouping. I think the Central Wisconsin Conference had parity this year. Allman, Bancroft, Wild Rose, those are programs that are always up top. But then you had Pittsville, Port Edwards, They play teams like Pacelli, even Marshfield, who got the 10 seed second round. Coach Hoffa, who used to be at Pittsville. I think no matter who we were going to get was going to be a formidable opponent. That said, we wanted to get a home game. That was number one, from hopefully 8 seed or higher, and to be 7 playing Marshfield, it'll be a challenge, but it's a game that I think that we'll be happy to have on our home floor, and then hopefully we just go from there. We're one of the teams that doesn't have much to lose. I don't think the expectations are as high as like a 1 seed, 2 seed, or 3 seed. It's exciting for us that come next week, everybody gets back to 0-0, and records kind of get thrown out the window, and it's one game at a time, and it should be fun.
Before we get there, you do have a home game on Monday night. That's against Neillsville, a conference opponent, but they are in Division 4. They are in one of the toughest brackets in the entire state of Wisconsin. How will you use that game to help prepare you for your playoff run next week?
Well, they have 2 kids that score a lot of points, and I think a couple of teams in our half section are similar, where you have to really take out 1 or 2 players. King and Chonko are probably as good as most of the players will face in the playoffs. So to do some defenses where we have to key on 1 or 2 guys will definitely help us long term. And then it'll be a great atmosphere, a playoff-type atmosphere, because I think Niels was playing for a share of the conference championship, trying to tie Spencer, so we expect a large crowd and a very intense effort, kind of a playoff atmosphere and a playoff effort, which should both benefit us come a week from now.
And then when you begin playoff preparations, probably about a week or so from now, what do you tell your kids? You mentioned the one-and-done format, and it's one of those kind of things. What do you tell your kids? How do they get mentally prepared for that type of format where there isn't a next game, perhaps?
I tell them to enjoy it, number one. I'm going to tell them that there's not a lot of pressure on us. No matter what happens this year, the past can't be taken away. At the same time, it's exciting because, like I said, they've struggled through some things trying to replace those seniors that walked out, and they've heard about it all season, where their conference standing was, what their seed might be. But come Tuesday, that all gets thrown out. It's 0-0 for everybody, and all you need to do is win that game in front of you. And I think we have some upperclassmen, and Tom Nystrom, Eden, Jaden, Gage, that really want to take advantage of an opportunity that's in front of them. So I hope that we play extremely hard and just enjoy the experience.
With Spencer Rocket head coach Clint Neiman, coach, the Spencer Rockets are the 6th seed and one of the toughest regionals in the entire state, regardless of division. Tell us about the 6th seed and that process that got you there.
Yeah, the rest of the coaches there decided that we were number 6. We challenged for the number 5. Pretty disappointed in the process overall. We went in expecting the 4 and thought pretty good chance of coming out with a 5, depending on how the guys, the coaches felt about Neillsville and us head to head. But to come away with a 6 and to lose the 5 to Marathon, that's pretty tough to swallow. That process was extremely frustrating. 16-14. Right now, at the time of the seed meeting, we're a half game ahead of Neillsville for our conference lead, and to lose the number 5 seed to an overall 10-10 team, pretty tough to swallow. Feel tough for our kids. I think they've earned something better than that, and we came out on the short end of my feeling.
We're just a few minutes out of that seed meeting, so maybe you haven't had time to process the whole thing. But what can you use as fuel? Maybe this as fuel for your kids come playoff time to go and maybe beat some of those teams that you were talking about.
Yeah, it's a really tough regional, and no matter who we play, it's going to be difficult. The difference is, the home games and where you're at. And we thought that we had a pretty good case to be higher than what we were, and to get a second home game before we have to go play. The top, echelon of the regional, but being in a 6, we'll have to play in the first round now, have a home game, and we match up against Abbey that Tuesday night, and then we'll have to go on the road, provided we can get that win against Abbotsford. And so it's a big deal. We're undefeated at home this season, so that makes a big difference for us. And if we do pass Abbotsford, of course, the rest of it's going to be away from our home. So definitely tough, but like I said, it's a really difficult regional. I mean, there's some really good teams stacked in there. There's no doubt about it.
The way your regional was set up, the top 4 teams got the bye. That's what you're talking about there. Everyone else then is left fighting for a home game. You do get that, as you said, against Abbotsford. should you win that game, then you travel to Edgar. At this point, what are you looking to work on this week, and when do you start to go find out more about the Abbotsford Falcons?
Well, we got a big game tomorrow night against Athens, and so we're getting ready for that, preparing for that. And so we'll focus on that for right now. It'll be the last home regular season game for our seniors, and we're gonna celebrate that. We're gonna fight like everything we got tomorrow night, against Athens. And after that, we have we have our crossover game coming up on Saturday, and so we'll start preparing for that. And amongst that, we'll also start preparing for Abbotsford. But we've seen Abbotsford once. Know Coach Dean very well, and he's got his kids playing well. They just came off a big win here Friday night, and so those guys are playing good. And so we'll have to get prepared and get ready and come out strong against them that Tuesday night.
The Wisconsin Rapids Lincoln Red Raiders pick up the 11th seed in Division I Sectional 1, and they will take on the number 6 seed DC Everest Evergreens on Friday night, March 6th at 7 p.m. Wisconsin Rapids right now at 9-12 overall. They will finish up the regular season at Wausau West on Thursday, February 27th at 7 p.m. Wisconsin Rapids at 4-7 in the Wisconsin Valley Conference, led in scoring by Grant Flory at 24.8 points a game, Dylan Lazitza at 10, and Nathan Kromenacher at 7.8 points a game for Wisconsin Rapids and head coach Dan Witter. Once again, Wisconsin Rapids will head to DC Everest to take on the Evergreens, a team that they split with earlier this season, knocking them off by 24 in mid-January, and then taking one on the chin on February 18th, a 98-53 loss to the Wisconsin Valley Conference champions, DC Everest Evergreens, this season. In the sectional for Wisconsin Rapids, 17 teams. Kimberly gets the number 1 seed. Wausau West 17 will head to Appleton West. Oshkosh North heads to Oshkosh West, a 9-8 matchup. Hudson will host Appleton North, 5-12 matchup. Eau Claire North will host Eau Claire Memorial, a 4-13 matchup. The winner of Wisconsin Rapids and DC Everest will play either Chippewa Falls or Appleton East. Chippewa Falls, the number 3 seed, they will host Appleton East. The Marshfield Tigers will host the Spash Panthers in a 7-10 matchup, and then Neenah will host Superior in a 2-15 matchup. Again, Wisconsin Rapids at 9-12 overall will head to DC Everest to take on the Evergreens in an 11-6 matchup on Friday, March 6th at 7 p.m. Wisconsin Rapids Assumption picks up the number 14 seed in Division 5 Sectional number 2, where they will take on Rib Lake. They'll head up and take on the Redmen on Tuesday, March 3rd at 7 p.m. The winner of that game will take on the winner of Port Edwards and Newman Catholic on Friday, March 6th. Assumption going into the seeding meeting at a record of 1-20, 1-14 in the Merriwood Conference. They're head coached by Gary Weisenbeck, led in scoring by Dennis Maytott, Reed Duhlman, and Alec Sullivan. A very young team in Assumption. 1 senior, no juniors, the rest sophomores and freshmen, looking to build on this season for next season. Their 1 win coming against Shawamigan on Friday, December 20th, a 64-47 win. A couple of close games to end the season. They lost to Abbotsford by 10 on February 14th. They lost at Amherst on Monday, February 17th. Took on Marathon and lost to Marathon Friday, February 21st, 64-42. They will finish off the regular season on Thursday at undefeated Stratford. Again, Wisconsin Rapids Assumption, 14 seed. They will head up and take on Rib Lake in Division 5 Sectional number 2, the number 1 seed in that sectional. Almond Bancroft, they'll take on Tri-County. The number 2 seed, Wild Rose Wildcats, will host Tigerton. Columbus Catholic will take on Rosholt, the 7-10 matchup. As mentioned, Newman Catholic will head to Port Edwards, a 6-11 matchup. Assumption, 14 seed, will head to Rib Lake. Pittsville will host Marion in a 4-13 matchup. Northland Lutheran will head to Athens. Loyal will host Wisconsin Valley Lutheran. Again, Assumption, the 14 seed, will head up to Rib Lake on Tuesday, March 3rd.
Thanks again to coaches Scheuer, Schmidt, Weinfurter, Huss, Neiman, Konieczny. For Steve Maves, this is Jason Zaleski saying have a great weekend. Go Sports.